In 2014, Forbes magazine named Elizabeth Holmes the world's youngest self-made female billionaire. Her company, Theranos, was valued at $9 to $10 billion. She had never completed her degree. She was 30 years old. And the technology at the center of everything, the device that was supposed to revolutionize medicine, could reliably run no more than 12 blood tests. It was supposed to run 200. This is how one of the largest frauds in Silicon Valley history actually happened, and the pattern it follows.
The corporate failure. Big companies. Bigger collapses.
Elizabeth Holmes dropped out of Stanford University at 19 years old in 2003. She had one idea: make blood testing painless, cheap and fast, using nothing more than a single finger prick drop of blood. If it worked, it would change medicine forever. She founded Theranos and spent the next decade telling the world she had already done it. Holmes studied Steve Jobs obsessively. She adopted his uniform, a black turtleneck, and wore it to every meeting, every interview, every public appearance. The uniform was not fashion, it was positioning. It said, "I am building the future." The promise was simple: one finger prick, one drop of blood. Results in 4 hours, at a fraction of the cost of traditional labs. Investors believed it. Patients believed it. The FDA never approved it. And the machine that was supposed to deliver it, the Edison device, could reliably run no more than 12 types of blood tests. Not 200, 12. To make investors believe the technology worked, Holmes did something nobody expected. She did not hire scientists. She hired generals and statesmen. Henry Kissinger, former United States Secretary of State. George Shultz, former United States Secretary of State. Jim Mattis, retired United States General, a man who would later become Secretary of Defense under President Trump. William Perry, former United States Secretary of Defense. None of them had scientific or medical backgrounds. That was the point. Holmes did not need people who could evaluate the technology. She needed people whose names made investors stop asking questions. General Mattis, who would later serve at the highest levels of American government, lent the board a level of national security credibility that made even skeptical investors pause. Authority replaced accountability, and it worked for 12 years. When your board includes 4 former Secretaries of State and Defense, nobody asked to see the lab results. The Theranos board was not assembled to govern a company. It was assembled to silence the people who might question them. The device was called the Edison, roughly the size of a computer printer. Theranos claimed it could run more than 200 blood tests simultaneously from a single finger prick sample. Investors believed them, partners believed them, patients believed them. The FDA never approved it because it could not do what Theranos claimed. The Edison was only ever designed to run a handful of tests. In practice, it never clinically ran more than 12 types of blood tests. For everything else, the remaining tests that Theranos offered, the company was secretly using standard Siemens laboratory machines, the same machines used by every other lab in the country. Blood samples were diluted, then processed on the Siemens equipment, and results were reported back as if the Edison had produced them. Patients who thought they were receiving revolutionary precision testing were receiving results from a machine that Theranos had never told them existed. Theranos' own lab director, Adam Rosendorf, raised accuracy concerns internally for years. He was ignored. The operation continued, and the Edison sat on the counter, sleek, minimal, impressive, doing almost nothing it had promised to do. In 2015, Wall Street Journal reporter John Carreyrou received a tip. A former Theranos employee was willing to talk. Carreyrou spent months verifying every claim. When he approached Theranos for comment, Holmes' response was immediate. She sent lawyers, dozens of them. The story ran anyway. On October the 15th, 2015, the Wall Street Journal published Carreyrou's investigation under the headline, "Hot Startup Theranos has struggled with its blood test technology." The world read it. Theranos' response was denial. Holmes went on television and called the story categorically false, but the unravelling had begun. In June 2016, Walgreens formally terminated its partnership with Theranos and closed all of its in-store Theranos wellness centers. Federal regulators found that the Edison device posed immediate patient safety risks. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services banned Holmes from operating any clinical laboratory for 2 years. In 2018, the Securities and Exchange Commission charged Holmes with fraud. The Department of Justice indicted her the same year. Forbes, who had placed her on their cover as the world's youngest self-made female billionaire, revised her net worth to zero. The company that had been valued at $9 to $10 billion was worth nothing. Elizabeth Holmes was convicted on 4 counts of fraud on January the 3rd, 2022. On November 18th, 2022, Judge Edward Davila sentenced her to 135 months in federal prison, 11 years and 3 months, followed by 3 years of supervised release. On May the 30th, 2023, Holmes reported to the minimum security federal prison camp in Bryan, Texas. She was 39 years old. Her net worth was zero. Now consider what happened. Holmes did not invent a new fraud. She deployed the oldest one. Surround the lie with people whose credibility is beyond question, and the lie inherits their authority. Add complexity that outside observers cannot audit. Add urgency. We are saving lives. That makes scrutiny feel cruel. 3 ingredients: authority, complexity, urgency. This is not the Theranos story. This is every major fraud story. Enron had all 3. FTX had all 3. Theranos had all 3. The surface changes every decade. The architecture never does. When a company's inner workings are too complex to understand from the outside, and the people asking questions are satisfied by the founder's personal credibility. The only variable that matters is what's actually happening inside. And what was happening inside Theranos was never what they said it was. The pattern repeats. The names change until the next one.
The corporate failure. Big companies. Bigger collapses.